Hi dear students, welcome to Kavita's NEET classes. I have made a series of lectures on human tissues. The study of tissues is called as histology, isn't it? So I have made a series of videos on histology which includes lectures on epithelial tissues, connective tissues, and in this lecture we will be discussing about muscle tissue. So if you have not already watched the videos on epithelial tissues and connective tissues which are part of the series, I will provide the links in the description box. You can view those lectures first and then come back to this video. So in this lecture we will be discussing about muscle tissue. Basically our body is composed of four kinds of tissues: epithelial tissue, connective tissue, muscle tissue and neural tissue. In this lecture we will discuss about muscle tissue. Muscle. So each and every muscle, so we can feel our muscles, isn't it? So muscles are made up of long cylindrical fibers arranged in parallel arrays. Okay, muscles are made up of long cylindrical fibers which are arranged in a parallel fashion. So one above the other, like this. Parallel fibers are arranged one above the other to form a muscle. These fibers are in turn composed of numerous fibrils called as myofibrils. Okay, see this. Here you can see this is a muscle. This is a skeletal muscle. Here you can find several muscle fibers which are arranged parallelly to one another, and these are in turn composed of myofibrils. Got it? Did you understand what myofibrils is? So a muscle consists of muscle fibers which are arranged in parallel fashion with respect to one another, and within these muscle fibers we have numerous fine fibrils which are called as myofibrils. So in a muscle you will have several fibers which are arranged one above the other, and these fibers are in turn composed of fine fibrils called as myofibrils. Okay, so muscles are composed of many long cylindrical fibers arranged in parallel fashion, and these fibers are in turn composed of fine fibrils called as myofibrils. So the muscle fibers contract in response to stimulation and then they relax, okay, and they return to their uncontracted state in a coordinated fashion. Say you are lifting a weight. So when you are lifting your weight, your muscles will start contracting, that is, they shorten themselves. These parallelly arranged muscle fibers, they start contracting and they lead to contraction of the muscle, which makes the muscle shorten. Whereas when you replace that weight back, then your muscles automatically start relaxing, that is, the fibers of the muscle will start returning back to the normal position. Okay, so it will return back to the uncontracted state in a coordinated fashion. So contraction of the muscle leads to the shortening of the muscle. So here you can see this person, he's so muscular, right? So these are the muscles. Whenever the muscles contract, they will shorten and become much short. Whereas when they return back to the relaxed state, they will go back to their normal length once again. More about the muscle contraction we will be discussing in human physiology chapters. Here this is just to introduce you to what a muscle fiber is. So we will not be going in depth about the contraction and how it happens. All that we will be discussing in the human physiology chapters. Then muscles play an active role in all the movements of the body. Yes, so whatever movements we want to do, whether we want to walk, dance, jump, skip, All of those involve movement of the body, and that involves movement of the muscles. That is active role in any motion that we do, be it running, jumping, skipping, all of that involves active involvement of the muscle tissue. Okay, so did you understand muscle? Muscle is made up of long cylindrical fibers arranged parallel fashion to one another, and these muscle fibers are composed of tiny tiny fibrils called as myofibrils. Under muscle tissue, we have three kinds. One is the skeletal muscle tissue, second one is the smooth muscle tissue, and third one is the cardiac muscle tissue. What is a skeletal muscle tissue? A skeletal muscle tissue is something which is closely attached, a tissue which is closely attached to the bones, to the skeletal bones. So you have bones, on the bones you have the muscles attached. Those muscles are the skeletal muscles. Okay, so such as biceps, here you see, can feel your biceps, isn't it? Those are skeletal muscles, and this is the structure of a skeletal muscle. You can find that they are striped in nature. You can find the lines on these, isn't it? These are striped. This is what we call it as stripes. So the skeletal muscle are striped in nature and they are bundled together in a parallel fashion. You can see here, right? So these are individual muscle cells which are bundled together. That is, one is arranged in parallel to the other. So in a parallel fashion, all of them are arranged together to form a bundle. Okay. Then a sheath of connective tissue encloses several bundles of muscle fibers. So like this, several bundles of muscle fibers will be enclosed within a sheath of connective tissue. Okay. Did you understand? Like this, several muscle fibers will be put together and it will be enclosed inside a connective tissue. Fine. Did you understand the skeletal muscle? Next, smooth muscle. The smooth muscle fibers taper at both the ends. Here you can see they are tapering at the ends. They are not like the other muscles, right? You can find them tapering at the end and they do not show any striations. What do we mean by striations? That is the pattern like this that is not present over here. So the smooth muscle fibers taper at the end and this character is called as fusiform. Okay, what do you mean by fusiform? The smooth muscle fibers taper towards both the ends. This character of the smooth muscle is called as fusiform and they do not show any striations. Please remember this. You will get this as a question. So many times it has been asked in the previous years. They will give you list of 4 muscles: smooth muscle, cardiac muscle, epithelial muscle and another muscle, and they will ask you which muscle do not have striations. So it is the smooth muscle which do not have any striation. And what we mean by fusiform? Fusiform means the muscle tapering at the end. This characteristic of the smooth muscle, that is, it tapers at the end, that is called as fusiform. So as soon as you think about smooth muscle, you have to remember fusiform and they do not contain striation because these are important characteristics of the smooth muscle. Okay. So how are these smooth muscles held together? They are held together by cell junctions and again they are bundled together in a connective tissue. So here I told you in the previous slide, in the skeletal muscle, all these fibers are arranged parallel to one another and several such muscles are bundled together and within a connective sheath, right? Within a sheath of connective tissue. Similarly, here in the smooth muscle also, you can find several such muscles, smooth muscles are bundled together and they are wrapped inside a connective tissue. Okay, did you understand? The cell junctions hold them together. So several such muscle cells are held together by cell junctions and they are bundled inside a sheath of connective tissue. Then where do we find these smooth muscles occurring? You can find the smooth muscles occurring inside the internal organs such as the blood vessels, stomach, intestine, etc. This is also very important. You have got previous questions on this as well. So they will give you where can you find smooth muscles, and they will give you a list of options. Among them, you'll have to choose this option which says the smooth muscle is present in blood vessels, stomach and intestine. Then the smooth muscles are involuntary in nature. What do we mean by voluntary and involuntary? Voluntary means which is under our control. Involuntary means which is not under our control, right? So the smooth muscles are involuntarily and their functioning cannot be directly controlled. Okay, so say for example the cheek muscles. You can smile or you can frown, so it is under your control, right? Whereas these smooth muscles, they are present in the blood vessels, they are present in the stomach and in the intestine. Do we have any control over that? Can we go catch hold of the smooth muscle and prevent its contraction or releasing? No, these muscles are not under our control. That is what we mean by involuntary. So this is also an important characteristic of smooth muscle which has been asked in previous year questions. So as soon as you think about smooth muscle, you have to remember fusiform nature. That is the cell, you can find the tapering at the ends. The smooth muscle fibers taper at the end, that is called as fusiform, and they do not show striation. That is important. And the where they are located, that is in blood vessels, stomach and intestine, and they are involuntary in nature. So these are very important points which you must remember when you're studying smooth muscles. Next, moving on to cardiac muscle. A cardiac muscle tissue is a contractile tissue. So we know that these cardiac muscles are present in the heart and they contract and relax for the purpose of circulation of blood, isn't it? So these cardiac muscle tissue are present only in the heart. So you cannot find cardiac muscle tissue elsewhere in the body, and they are present only in the heart. And they fuse the plasma cells of cardiac muscle cells and make them stick together. So here you can see the picture of a cardiac muscle, and they are linked with each other. They are sticking with each other. How does this happen? That is the plasma membrane. Plasma membrane is nothing but cell membrane, isn't it? So the cell membranes of two different fibers will fuse together to form these joining or the binding of the muscles. Okay, so you can find that the plasma membrane of the cardiac muscles fuse and make them stick together. The cell junctions fuse the plasma membrane of the cardiac muscle cells and make them stick together. So here you can see in this regions where the muscle cells are sticking to each other, it is the cell junctions which fuse the plasma membrane and bind them together. So at these communication junctions, we have intercalated discs. We have intercalated disc. At these communication junctions, we have intercalated discs, okay, and it is these intercalated discs which help in the contraction. So what happens is, when one cell receives a signal to contract, it communicates to the other cell through these intercalated discs. So the communication junctions or the intercalated discs at the fusion points allow the cells to contract as a unit. So when one receives the signal to contract, it immediately sends a signal to the other one. So as the entire muscle, as a single unit, they can contract. Okay, did you understand? So the cardiac muscle tissue is a contractile tissue present only in the heart, and here the cell junctions fuse the plasma membrane of the cardiac muscle cells. So different cardiac muscle cells will be there. What these cell junctions do is they fuse the plasma membrane of different muscle cells and they make them stick together. and then at this region you will have these intercalated discs. Okay, this regions where they have fused, you have the intercalated disc at the fusion points, which allow the entire muscle to contract as a single unit, because as and how one cell gets the signal to contract, it will be passed on to the others simultaneously through these intercalated discs, and all the muscles, the entire muscle together works as a single unit and it will contract. This is how it functions, and more in detail we will be discussing about all of this contraction, relaxation in the human physiology chapters. Here we are just introducing you to what a muscle tissue is and what is the nature of the tissue. Okay. So now we shall discuss few questions which were asked in the previous year NEET examinations. Which of the following statements wrongly represent the nature of the smooth muscle? They are asking which is wrong. They are not asking what is the right nature. They are asking what is the, among these options, which of them are false with regard to smooth muscle. So they are present in the wall of blood vessels. That is true, right? That is a true. Then they have no striations. That is also true. They are involuntary muscles. Yes, they are definitely involuntary. Communication among the cells is performed by intercalated disc. No, that is wrong, because the communication among the cells is performed through intercalated disc in a heart muscle and not in a smooth muscle. So the right answer option will be D, because they are asking which of them wrongly represent the nature of smooth muscle. If the question had been which among these is right about the smooth muscle, then this is also correct, this is also correct, this is also correct, isn't it? They would have given these three options and the fourth one would have been all of the above. Then all of the above would have been the right answer. Whereas here they are asking what is wrong, which of these statement is wrong about the smooth muscle. So D is the wrong option. So D is the wrong statement. So D is the right answer option. The smooth muscles are involuntary, yes. Fusiform, yes. Non-striated, yes. So the answer is A. Okay. So in this lecture we have discussed the characteristic of a muscle tissue, the different types of muscle tissue, that is skeletal muscle tissue, smooth muscle tissue and cardiac muscle tissue. I hope you all understood it properly. If you have any queries, you can write it down in the comment section below, and you can also connect with me on the social media. We will be discussing neural tissue in our next lecture, and until I meet you in the next lecture, take care, have a good day.